What's going on, you guys? It's Keinan Briggs, sports consultant and mentor. Today's conversation is a fun one. I'm going to be teaching you guys the basics of how to run faster. There's a lot of ways and methods that coaches teach. However, we're going to go through the basics of force production for now. Okay, so how to run faster. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. Good. All right. So first thing is understanding. In order to move somewhere, we need a solid static object. One object that we have around us is the ground, okay, on Earth. And so the ground does not move, and it shouldn't. If it does, we're in trouble, right? But we can utilize the ground to help us move in other directions. Because the ground doesn't move, and we do, we want to utilize the ground to help us move in different directions. So let's just use this basic concept, right? So let's say a person is sitting in a chair. In order for them to stand up, they must have an action. This action is to push the ground down. When they push the ground down, they're going to stand up. Now, what if we want to get up faster? What do? In order to get up faster, we simply push the ground down with a harder amount of force. That allows us to get up faster. Well, what if we want to jump? It's the same formula. If we want to get up faster, right, with so much speed that our body leaves the ground, that creates a jump. Well, that means we simply want to get up in a faster way, right? Well, we simply push the ground down with harder or maximal force. That will give us a jump outcome. So in this situation, the harder you press the ground down is our action. Okay. And then the reaction is to travel up. Okay. That's how this formula works. So now when it comes to running faster, this answer here is we want to push the ground backwards to allow us to get a forward propulsion to run faster. If we look at Usain Bolt, when he ran his 100-meter record, or just all of them, I believe he was between 44 and 48 steps to run, 9:58. Okay? A lot of people think, let's run fast, so let's take more steps. The reality is you want to take less steps so you have more force production each time. Okay? Here's an example. Back to this jumping situation, right? Let's say person A can jump, let's just say 1 foot off the ground. Person B can jump 10 times that. Okay? So 10 feet off the ground. If these people are doing maximum push into the ground, right? If you were to time how long it'll take person A to finish 10 jumps, it'll take, let's just say, 10 seconds. Okay? Person B is going to take more time to jump because they're spending more time traveling in the air each time. And it's going to be 10 times that amount of time. So in this situation, person B will be slower at this vertical jump contest. But if we put this towards stride length, okay, person A, person B, person A will cover some distance, person B will cover 10 times that. So now to cover 100 meters, which one do you think is going to be able to get there in the least amount of steps possible? You're right, person B. Now, if they're both having, if they keep their stride frequency higher, right? As in they're stepping, how do I say this? If the frequency, right, of their cadence, that can be another variable. But if they're going at the same frequency, no, that's not right either. I'm confusing myself. It's okay. Moving on. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm going to come back. But basically, when you're running, you want to be able to utilize your full push. When you maximize this distance versus that distance, you're going to get more production, force production out of B here. Okay? I'm going to let that go because I'm getting distracted. Okay, coming back to running, forward and back. Okay? Now, when we're running, I have my athletes run flat-footed. Let me explain to this. When you're doing squats, okay? Let's just say this is a squat rack. Weights. Person's here. Are you going to be on your toes or are you going to be flat-footed when you're squatting these weights? I can hear you speaking already. Flat-footed. Why are you flat-footed? Because you're more stable. When you're more stable, you're then able to create more potential energy and create more potential force because you have less variables. Why would you consider being on your toes when you're more stable and producing more force here? Okay? The same concept goes into running. When you're running, you want to be flat-footed. Now let me explain. I know you're like, what? Okay, so when you're flat-footed, when you're running, we're going to have this concept here, more force. Okay, more force production. However, I can't be flat-footed and expect to push the ground backwards because backwards is the direction I want to push the ground to run forward. So what must happen? I must change my angle in relation to the ground between 2 and 5 degrees. Okay. That allows me to push the ground. Now what's happening here is I'm still at the same angle. Let's just say 90 degrees. Okay. So now what's happening is as I push the ground backwards, you can see that the first part to make contact on the ground is going to be the ball of my foot. That's okay. That's what you want. You want your toe dorsiflexed and you want your ankles to be 90 degrees. So when you land and make contact, majority of your foot's going to be on the ground. Okay. And you're going to be able to activate the stretch, the stretch reaction out of your Achilles. You want that. Okay. Stretch reflex. So when you make contact on the bottom of your foot, it's going to be, here's your arch of your foot. It's going to be right here, making contact. Okay. You're still at 90 degrees, but you're making contact here. Most sprinters are taught to run on your toes, and you're here. This difference, this separation here is losing a lot of your time if you don't have that covered. Okay. So now when it comes to having your foot dorsiflexed, what's happening there? Okay. So if you're watching this video and you can, I want you to stand up. Okay. And I want you to lift your leg up to 90 degrees. Also, I want you to make sure that your knee is as high as your ankle. Sorry. Make sure your knee is as high as your hip and your knee is also in line with your ankle and your toe is up. Okay. Now, from there, you're going to put your foot down. If you did it without me telling you, pay attention. But also, if you put your foot down, it should go the same direction that your ankle to knee are, which is straight down here, not down as in here behind you. Okay. When you step that down, you're now in the correct alignment and position. Now, the issue is you have one foot in front of you, one foot behind. Back to this concept of pushing the ground backwards. As your leg is going down. You're going to push the ground backwards with the foot on the ground, and you're going to replace the knee with the hip. You're going to push your hips forward to replace the knee while this foot goes down, and you're going to end up back to where you started, tall with both legs side by side. Okay? The other part that I didn't mention is in order to get to this 2 to 5 degree position shown here, you must change your posture 2 to 5 degrees. When you have this position, this becomes your running position. Okay? And then again, the front side mechanics step down, the back side mechanics are pushing back. And that's going to be that rotation. So when it comes to running, a lot of cartoons show this within running. I like to explain to the athletes, it's push the ground away, strike down underneath you, and you're repeating that motion. So you'll see there's guys on Instagram, I think, I don't know his name, but he has a marker on his ankle as he goes through the running motions. That marker is drawing onto a whiteboard, and it's very similar to something like this, which is very consistent to this. Okay? I like this obtuse triangle. Push the ground away as hard as you can, drive your knee in position, attack your foot down. And that 2 to 5 degree angle is going to create this each time. This makes sense so far? Okay? So your overall focus when it comes to running is, let's say there's a truck that's out of gas. Okay? Yeah, it's a gas car. If you were to try to push this car, what angle would you be at? Would you be at 90 or closer to 42 or 45? Yep. This one, right? Because you're trying to generate as much force as possible. So if you apply pushing this car, you're going to be at this sharp angle. Then you're going to work your way up tall. So you're going to start sharp, work your way up tall as the speed is built. This is the exact same fundamentals when it comes to sprint mechanics. You're going to start at that 42 to 45 degrees, work your way up tall, then you're maintaining your running mechanic at top end speed. I like to break these into 3 different sections. Okay, we have the drive phase, where you're pushing, or also I use the phrase climbing the ladder, which I'll get into later on. We have acceleration phase, right, where you're transitioning. Then you have your top end, okay, where you're focusing on maintaining and finding the same rhythm and checkpoints in your run. All right, so when it comes to long jump, it's the same thing. Our full approach is 18 steps. So we have 6 in your drive, 6 transition, 6 top end speed to jump. Sprints, this might spread out a little bit more depending on your height and your stride length. But the biggest focus, back to the beginning, is always keep the mechanics underneath you. So this angle here and straight down versus getting out here. Now, because of the velocity of your leg moving forward, you're going to naturally have your leg get out in front of you. However, you should keep the heel as close as you can to your knee, so you're able to paw the ground from there, so it's not really opening up too much. Okay? So all this comes down to this drive phase is about force production. Okay? In that force production, what are you doing? You're pushing the ground backwards with your toe dorsiflexed and making contact to produce more force so you can run faster.